How's it going, everybody? Today I've got an amazing figure to take a look at, albeit with an oddball name that I have no idea how to pronounce. As far as that goes, I'm just going to run with what sounds right. It's an innovative, one-of-a-kind take on a robot insect and also a triple changer with some cool mechanical features. Some of you may recall about a month ago I put out a couple of opinion polls asking what figures I'd recently purchased you'd like to see me review. I've got one down, and as far as number 2, it was pretty close between this one and Down Spiral, but generally speaking, more of you were pretty vocal about the Dragonfly, so here we are. As far as this review, I'll be taking a close look at its details with its very sweet set of bonus guns here. I'll do a demo of its helicopter mode, a transformation demo into box mode, and then I'll close it out with a box grade. So let's get this review off the ground. We'll start with a quick look at the package and its contents. Now, one thing you might notice right away is 52 Toys has done some design tweaks. They're definitely incorporating more Mandarin into their marketing materials, so not playing it up to the Western world as much as they used to. The box has some improved design cues and interesting iconography, along with the usual beautiful artwork all around with some spot gloss coats to polish the presentation. Another thing you might notice right away is the character number pill has traditionally been a rounded rectangle, and now it's been modified into more of a skewed rectangle, which matches the angle of the character name font. Designed by X2R, 52 Toys, indispensable mad geniuses. Another thing I want to point out is they changed the Beastbox logo. The original whimsical illustrated version that's been with the brand from the very beginning is being retired and replaced with a much more corporate-looking type treatment with gigantic Mandarin characters and the English language Beastbox in very small lettering. Something interesting to note is on the inside. At least in this case, they're still using the old style insert with the original logo. I love this particular backer design. I've seen the version that's replacing it, and along with the Infinity Box insert that replaced the Mega Box version, it's less inspired and less interesting in my opinion. If anybody happens to know if there's a version of this insert that's been blown up to poster size and made into prints, please let me know. I'd love to get a hold of one if possible. So what else is in the box? Catalog, Beast Drive catalog, Fig Light Figures catalog, all cool 52 Toys original product lines. And of course the character card. The artwork is sweet. And again, the infamous missing dash. So as far as the character card goes, let's take a quick look at the bio. To aid the rapid advance of the Reaper squad on the ground, so this is air support for the Reapers apparently. Onitopte is born. Waves after waves of Onitopte escadrilles team up with Reapers and shred enemies into pieces to mop up the battlefield. Onitopte utilizes its ordnance to turn the bloody front line into an inferno. It's literally a living hell, said a surviving Beastbox veteran. That's good stuff. Onitopte has apparently given some survivors of the Beastbox onslaught PTSD. Moving on, let's talk about some figure details. Although real quick, I failed to mention before that within the box, this figure does include instructions and a box charger, of course. I just happen to have them off to the side when I opened it up and forgot to show these. As far as the main event, I'll say this up front. This is one I really feel like 52 Toys knocked out of the park. They did such an amazing job with this character as a study on animal anatomy. But also its design and just how everything came together to make this a beautiful, functional, fun little object that's interesting for a nerdy adult like myself and is also a great toy for a kid. Not all Beast Boxes meet both of these criteria, and this one absolutely sits right in that sweet spot. One great thing about 52 Toys is they do not shy away from going the extra mile on figure details. And you know, in the case of this character, you have a lot of characteristics that are evocative of a real-life Dragonfly for sure. Like the bubble head that reminds me of one of those old-time military helicopter cockpits. Not just that, but there's a separate internal piece that looks like the eyes of a real-life dragonfly. Its legs are positioned the way a dragonfly's legs are in real life. This is the product of some very imaginative designers who studied dragonfly characteristics closely and thought about how that translates into a mechanical vehicle. Dragonflies can of course hover in midair, so the connection is completely organic and makes total sense. The wings are absolutely phenomenal. They're beautiful. I love the high-tech details and sculpting, a lot of interesting shapes, and a beautiful transparent lavender color, rounded out with a spray-painted glitter paint on the wingtips that catches light really nicely. As far as the color scheme, it's a beautiful dark teal with some silver and dark gray components. all complemented with tasteful paint applications. This cool little graphic says AIM, nice looking stripes, the requisite caution graphic, and of course a bug faction symbol on the tailpiece. This is a truly inspired design piece on all fronts in my opinion. Another nice feature are these miniguns, which are included with the figure and part of its transformation. The instructions suggest attaching them to the sides of the torso, but you can of course attach them anywhere else you can find a 3mm port. Even these have nice detailing with a laser scope and bullet cartridges. There are also some tiny graphic imprints that are too small for me to read. Onitopte has a lot of other nice details like these engine exhausts, great detailing on the legs, you name it. It's a gorgeous showpiece. Another thing I want to touch on is there have been a number of complaints about these leg joints splitting open. One guy whose name I forgot commented here on a YouTube video that he had bought one of these and he'd only transformed it once or twice, and less than a day later his Onitopte's legs broke. I've been fiddling with mine off and on for a couple of weeks and so far that hasn't happened. But if you look at the way it's built, you can see how that might happen. And they are on there really tight. Listen to this. Although from what I've observed through online comments, it seems like it's not a widespread problem. Your mileage may vary, of course, but it's a figure if you're thinking about buying, my honest suggestion is don't let that deter you. It's most likely not going to be a problem as long as you don't crank on your figure's legs too hard. And in the end, you have buyer's protection anyway, so if yours does break, you'll probably be able to return it for a refund. Let's take a look at this cartridge-style bonus item. It turns into 2 cannons, and it's very easy to transform. Right off the bat, I'll note that one of these barrel extensions is pretty loose and it won't hold in place. Most bonus items are now designed to fold up into a quarter-size cartridge, which 4 can fit inside of a box charger. And by the way, the guy who these bonus pieces belong to is going to make another appearance in a future video, so be on the lookout for that. So yeah, these pieces stack up nicely inside box chargers. The transformation is super simple. You just split them apart, flip them around, and just like that, you've got 2 massive cannons. These things are comically huge, but damn are they awesome. The barrels extend to a ridiculous length. They have some pretty cool graphic imprints. Beware of hot air. That sounds like some people I know. The way you're going to get it to fit on the figure is a little bit of a quirk. It has these little pegs on the side that you need to pop off and insert on the side of the cannons, and it gives you little 3mm plugs. We'll pop the miniguns back on the sides, and you got this little death machine that's locked and loaded and ready for combat. Look at that thing. Holy moly, these things are gigantic. We'll get these out of the way so we can take a quick look at its helicopter mode. It's pretty simple. You got this mange piece on the back here. You're just going to pop that open, flip it around up and out of the way. You want to make sure you clamp it down on top of this piece. This piece is going to come up and over and snap on the C-clamp. The helicopter blades will rotate around to form a cross section. And you want to flip them over to tuck those hinges around on the underside, and you got yourself a Whirlybird. A couple of steps I'll point out before anyone calls me out is this tail piece is supposed to flip up for the helicopter mode and down for the Dragonfly mode. It's transparent plastic, of course, so I'm not real confident that these tiny pieces are durable enough to hold up over time. It does feel solid, but there again, it's a thin little part, so that's a part that I feel like I need to handle with care. Another thing I'll point out is the legs are supposed to fold up in helicopter mode into these landing skids, which is a nice touch, but there again, it's a part I'm trying to avoid messing with too much. Honestly, I feel like the legs look fine as is for both modes. So that's Onitopte's helicopter mode, and it spins really well. Alright, let's do a transformation demo into cube mode. First thing, you want to get rid of the accessories and put them to the side. And by the way, these articulated pieces are not required to sit on the figure. It's just what's recommended in the instructions, but you can set them aside if you want a cleaner look on the legs. We'll pop the head down, rotate it around, and fold it back up. We'll separate this piece out like so. Then this entire apparatus is going to fold up and over and down on top, just like you do for the helicopter mode. We're going to separate these connecting pieces on the side. This entire tail gets rotated 180 degrees. These tail midsection pieces will fold up and over, and they'll connect on the sides. At this point, we're going to collapse the tail and we'll shove the whole piece in there. We're going to bring this cover down and lock it into position. The next step is a little tricky to understand because it's not completely obvious how you do it, but the tail needs to come up and over. In order to do that, you have to disengage this piece from the midsection and you're going to give it a firm tug. It'll come out with a nice snap, then you'll flip it up. And you're going to have it about in this position for right now. So once you got it, you'll have to snap it back into place and you're just going to push it down and it locks into position. Next thing you want to do is start tucking away the legs. We're going to turn the back feet inward and peg them in just like so. And then you're going to fold them in half, then bring them up and to the side. What you're looking for is to connect the interior of the leg with this little slot right here. So you got this little tab here and that's going to connect with that piece right there. So you're just going to rotate that up and plug it in. These exhausts will need to turn down like so, and they're going to fold out sideways just like that. The tail piece will fold down. In this case, we already have them in the right position. We'll split it apart and fold it out to the sides, and it's going to fold again on its other hinge. These little connection pegs are going to connect to their opposing ports. Then the tail piece will collapse inward just like so. From here, you're going to want to make sure the wings are on top in this position. Basically, you need to have the wings with the peg hole on the outer side out in front. The wing tips need to be pointed forward, so we're just going to rotate everything around 180 degrees. The forelimbs are on these sliders, so they need to be pulled out sideways. That gives you clearance for the front wings to clamp together. Then we'll hinge them down and they'll fold straight in just like so. And you'll want to make sure you lock them into these pegs. For the front limbs, the feet are going to collapse and you'll just have to mesh these pieces together on both sides. Now we can start reassembling the miniguns. We'll take these little articulation arms here and they're going to go right inside that peg. We'll flip the cartridge around on the opposite side there just like that. These pieces are going to attach to each side of the legs, and for now we'll splay out the entire assembly like so. Then we're going to take these wings, fold them down, and the legs will come up and over just like so. You're going to have that peg lock into that hole right there, and at this point it's a matter of connecting pegs where it's obvious and scrunching parts up so everything fits snugly. You want to make sure that these teeth connect to the wing, then it'll fold up and around and it'll lock into place. This one's a relatively moderate transformation. I'm not going to say it's the easiest one in the world to do, but it certainly does form a pretty good looking box. Those wings are glorious. And of course it fits right into its box charger. Now it's time to give this buoyant battlebug a box grade. This is my rating system of 6 categories with 5 points possible for a score of anything between 0 to 30 points. What 5T Toys excels at is studying the characteristics of animals and insects and turning that into a robotic figure in a way that totally makes sense. A dragonfly that turns into a helicopter is inspired, and it seems so obvious, yet Onitopte is a completely original design. 5 out of 5. Multiple modes, different ways you can configure it, and accessories put Onitopte in rare company where it excels as both a display piece and an action figure. 5 out of 5. Transformation is as unique as the figure itself. It's not hard at all to convert from one mode to the other, and turning Onitopte into a helicopter is especially easy. Historically, almost all triple change or transforming figures have at least one mode that feels like an afterthought, and this is a rare case where every mode is done very well and without compromise. 5 out of 5. Onitopte has articulation where it counts. It's not lacking by any means, but not exactly something you'd spend a lot of time posing anyway. 3 out of 5. While nothing is broken on my copy, Onitopte does have a known issue with its legs, even if it doesn't appear to be a widespread problem. I also have concerns about these thin tail pieces holding up over time. This might sound preemptive, but all things considered, I'm giving this 2 out of 5. Onitopte is a very clever design. It looks great and is definitely fun to fiddle around with in various modes for a maximum score of 5 out of 5. And that brings the box grade total to 25 out of 30. Circling back to where I started this review, this is an excellent example of a completely unique, awesome figure design that only 5T Toys can deliver, and I definitely recommend it. I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. I've got a lot of ideas for future videos, and we'll talk again soon. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.